State your wishes. Okay.
All right, guys. So as you can see right here, we have some major 10th anniversary hype. Very, very exciting news. So it looks like the Purunga Dragon Ball campaign that we are currently in the middle of, that we will be able to collect the final, last two Dragon Balls in part 3. They have some big news here. It looks like we are going to be able to make a wish that's going to allow us to pick up some very, very new and powerful characters, right? So yeah, they have released this notice here, letting us know. So let's go ahead and take a quick read through here of their little tweet. So, in order to let you play with the new characters, 10th anniversary Dragonstone used to recruit characters featured in the 10th anniversary will be available. The lineup will include characters that debuted from March to December, some excluded. So those that already have the 10th anniversary characters can exchange it for characters they don't have yet. So there's a couple of things here, right? The very first thing is that they did release an asset for a memorial stone, a 10th anniversary memorial stone that we've yet to see any usage for, right? It was in one of the data downloads, I think in part 1 of the anniversary, and we just haven't seen them announce anything for it. So I believe this is what they're referring to here. This 10th anniversary Dragonstone probably will be one of the things that you can collect with your, Purunga Wish. So yeah, featured in the 10th anniversary. That is absolutely insane. And then also there's going to be basically every single Dokkan Fest from the year. I took a look at the list. We've got a couple of screenshots here to be able to look at the details of what of the basically screenshots from this little video that we just watched here. Showing what characters they highlighted are going to be available, right? So the biggest thing, first and foremost, is that we've got all 6 of the new Dokkan Fest and Carnival anniversary headliners here. So it looks like these are actually going to be available, which is insane. Like, this is too good to be true, right? Like, I mean, it makes sense. It's the 10th anniversary. Obviously, they were going to go all out for us. So yeah, but I mean, it does say right on this image here. Plus, the 10th anniversary characters can also be recruited, right? So if you legitimately weren't able to get one of these with that Dragonstone, then there's no way they would have put this text on this screen, right? This is just straight up gonna happen. So yeah, that is pretty exciting. I know a lot of players are coping really hard right now if they were unable to pull, one of their favorite units here. So, now nobody's going to have to worry about that. Unless, I guess, if you're missing multiple, then tough luck. But I guess, it's nice that we're at least getting one of these for free, right? So the other thing here is that, a lot of people, myself included, kind of, have balled out a little bit just to make sure that we could get all of these characters. I actually don't have the Vegeta myself, but I was able to pull all the rest of them. So yeah, now that they're advertising that we can get one for free, obviously there's probably quite a few people looking backwards going like, oh man, I wish I hadn't summoned as much as I did then, because that last, Vegito that I was chasing or something, I wouldn't have needed to, right? But obviously, that's how it's going to go. If they had announced that this was going to be a thing from the start, then they would have earned a lot less money during the anniversary, because people would have summoned a lot less, stopping one unit short of what they needed just to wait for the stone to give it to them for free, right? So that's their business strategy, which makes sense. But yeah, not to fear. If you're salty about the list here because you already did all your summons here and you're satisfied with your 10th anniversary pulls, there is also a big giant list of all of the other Dokkan Fests from the year, basically. So this doesn't include the 9th anniversary headliners. So like Beast Gohan, Broly, Gogeta, and the Gammas. Those aren't on here, but basically every single other new release is here. So kind of briefly, I just wanted to do a quick little look through, and just give some quick tips about like which units are the best potentially. If this is the complete list of characters right here, this is all we're assuming, right? Because this is all they showed in the video. It is, I guess, possible that they add more to this, but because they specifically outlined in that tweet, characters from March to December of 2024, this is, I'm pretty sure this is that complete list minus the anniversary headliners. And I think that makes sense why they subtracted the anniversary headliners, because the 9th anniversary didn't happen at the same time for both Global and JP. So on JP, the 9th anniversary headliners are technically from January, right? Not from much later in the year for us, where it would have been like July, right? Us global players, I mean. So yeah, that kind of checks out because JP is like the canon timeline, right? So yeah, we'll go through these one by one really quick, and basically I'll just be giving you like a yes or no of if I think it's a unit that's powerful enough or relevant enough in today's meta to be picked up with your stones here. So the very first one that we've got is the first form Frieza. I would say definitely not. This character is already aging out a little bit, not the most amazing unit. I mean, I suppose, okay, the one benefit to this character is that look at this entire list here. There's no other Wicked Bloodline cards here. If we go ahead and take a look, let's just look at like the list of recent cards. This will show us all the recent releases and like EZAs and upgrades, right? So I guess we do have the new Goku Frieza, but they are probably either number 5 or 6 as far as like the power level of the new anniversary headliners. It pretty much in my opinion, tied for last with the Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. We have the new Namek Frieza EZA, which is an actually really broken card, right? But this Namek Frieza doesn't really have a good partner. And even with this other, Goku Frieza here, this is a Goku Frieza from Tournament of Power, and the link set is a little bit different than your typical Wicked Bloodline cards. So there are Wicked Bloodline units that could link better with this Frieza, right? But just none of them are powerful. And then take a look at the second list here. There's still no Wicked Bloodline stuff, right? Moving back even further, still no Wicked Bloodline stuff, really. I guess we did also have the physical Full Power Frieza Super EZA, but again, it's the exact same name as the AGL one, so you can't use them as linking partners. And it's just kind of a hindrance to have them on the same team together at that point, right? Again, no Wicked Bloodline anywhere, right? So yeah, it might be smart if you're really, really big on that full power Frieza to pick up this guy, because there's just no other Wicked Bloodline options for the year, basically. It has been kind of a forgotten space in Dokkan, unfortunately. They have been focusing very heavy on like Buu Saga and things like that, not so much on Namek Saga, right? So yeah, that Frieza could be good for that purpose and that purpose only, basically. But other than that, he's not really needed. Okay, so the Tech Super Saiyan Vegeta, he is still a pretty solid unit. Definitely a good add-in to teams, but I don't think that he compares to like the power level of a lot of these other characters at this point. So probably I wouldn't say him. Same deal with Topo. He can be fun to run alongside, characters like Jiren. There is a really fun, I just completed a mission using a full like Heroes of Justice team. And yeah, so Topo actually is pretty powerful. He is pretty strong on that team build specifically. He does have some pretty tight restrictions when it comes to running him alongside other Universe 11 characters and stuff. So he's not like the most amazing, right? But definitely can be used. Then we have the Int Ginyu Force LR, definitely not. These guys are not strong. The only time you're probably going to find yourself really using them is if you're doing like a Ginyu Force mission or something. They are one of the better units on the Ginyu Force category, if not like the best unit on the Ginyu Force category. But yeah, basically not going to be used in many other spaces of the game. The AGL Ultimate Gohan, probably not. Since his release, we have just gotten countless Majin Buu Saga buffs, countless buffs for basically any team that he's going to want to be run on. And because he does have Majin Buu restrictions, you're going to want to use him on that category, but he is not even close to a top 6 unit on that category at this point. So I definitely wouldn't recommend picking him up. There are literally better Buu Saga units on this list. Speaking of which, we have the AGL Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku here. He would be a viable pickup. This unit is a very, very strong slot 1 unit for short form content, because he does start out with the 90% damage reduction in base, and then he loses 15% per turn. So if you're going to be going longer than like 6 turns or whatever, then he will eventually fall off and have to be run in a later slot and not be reliant as a slot 1 unit. But at the start of the fight, that can be very, very good. He also has a really, really good leader skill as well. What is it? It's like Majin Buu Saga, Otherworld Warriors, and Accelerated Battle, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's a pretty widespread leader skill. Lots of good units to throw in on there. Could be a solid pickup for you. We have the Int Fat Buu here. This unit is a staple, in my opinion. This unit is probably not going to help you in like the pinnacle challenge content, right? Well, I mean, he is still very solid. Like, he has a really good team and stuff. He is a very good leader to use, and definitely can be run alongside a lot of the other strong like Buu cards and Majin Power stuff, right? Sworn enemy stuff as well. But the main reason why he is appealing is because he has the free revive, and then like the Ghost Usher turn, basically. So these are like very, very strong skills that will never age out, because it doesn't depend on like the power level of the kit. In fact, that part of his kit is probably going to be operating better as time goes on, because right now you do run into situations where you intend to be KO'd with him so that you can get the revive, so you put him in an improper slot so that he can take a bunch of damage. And unfortunately for him, he also has the effect in his passive to survive KO attacks. So sometimes you'll get hit, and then you have 1 HP remaining, and then it'll move on to the next turn or to the next character, and then you'll get KO'd, and you don't get anything for it, right? But once this guy is like an absolute slouch, and he's getting destroyed by whatever content you're bringing him into, you can much more easily depend on that revive to proc for you, which is going to give you a couple of free turns, right? Because then he has the active skill turn after reviving, which just gives you another free turn. So yeah, this guy could be decent if you like to play around with those funky mechanics and cool utility rather than just straight up damage dealing units or major tanks, right? Okay, Physical Rose, definitely not. No, he's just not good at this point. I wouldn't recommend it. He's not really good as a leader. Both Kuroda Body and Mind and Super Bosses are kind of bad teams. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend Rose. Cellmax, absolutely. He is probably like top 4 on this list, in my opinion, of like usefulness of units that you could bring out. The one thing that hurts him is the teams, right? For the first thing, he's not on that many teams, and then for the second point, he is restricted to a Super Bosses team. So we just went over it. Super Bosses is not a great team. So yeah, you're only going to see like the most use out of him, and him looking at his pinnacle best on like a team that you're not really going to be using that much. So yeah, there's not that much use for him, but he is a really, really good character when you can use him, right? Tech UI is going to be a really solid pickup, potentially. He's got a very good leader skill, and he is one of those all-time dodging units that's definitely going to be at least somewhat useful for a very long time, just because dodging can't really age out, right? You don't see the power creep on that, I suppose, other than like dodge canceling bosses, but they're pretty steady these days with when they release those boss mechanics, right? We're always going to be getting more dodge canceling bosses, but it's not like we're ever going to enter a period where all bosses are dodge canceling, right? Same thing with like AoE attacks and things like that, right? It's never going to be all the bosses. They just throw in a small mix of them to make sure that you can't spam the entire game with one team, right? But yeah, this could be a solid unit for you. I think another really important thing to point out with this character is the domain. He has a very unique domain that so far he is the only character in the game that has this effect, which is when you activate his domain, starting on his 5th turn in battle, you get the ability to cancel those dodge canceling bosses effects, making it possible for this unit to dodge, and then any other evasion units you have on the team will be able to dodge as well, right? Okay, Jiren, I would say he's an even better pickup than UI Goku as far as like Universe Survival Saga is concerned. Jiren is an absolute behemoth. He is another one that is probably top 3 on this list for me. Yeah, I would say he is top 3. Maybe like 4th, maybe 4th. Okay, I'll do a little like small, verbal tier list at the end for like maybe my top 5 picks or something. But yeah, Jiren is so powerful. He can still keep up in base form. He's got that invincible turn during his standby, and then once he goes into full power, he is just an absolute behemoth. He's going to be doing comparable damage to the 10th anniversary LRs and stuff like that. So, well, as far as his attack stats, he's not going to be doing quite as many attacks or with like the guaranteed crits and all that, but he is still very, very powerful. So could be a good unit. And he also has a very good leader skill, right? Being straight up 200% to Universe Survival Saga is very useful. Master Roshi, probably not that great. He's a little bit more of a gimmicky character. He was just kind of, I think, put in the game to help buff Peppy Gals. He's got one of those weird leader skills, right, where he is a 200% Peppy Gals lead, even though he's not on Peppy Gals himself. So that is kind of a funny little trope there with this card, but he can be fun. The main place that he is helpful is in the heroine battle, because that heroine battle stage has a bunch of missions that you want to be able to clear a bunch of different stages with Peppy Gal characters. And this obviously is like one of the biggest buffs that you can get to the Peppy Gal team. And there is also a mission in there to beat one of the stages with a Master Roshi on your team. And this is by far the best Master Roshi in the game, right? So if you're interested in that heroine battle stage, which is, particularly tricky, not just because, the stats are boosted and it's a hard fight, but because there's a ton of like weird gimmicks where you need to do all this rainbow orb changing and multiple like additional attacks per turn and stuff. And when you finish the heroine battle, you get one of the coolest wallpapers in the game. People have asked me in my YouTube comments a lot about the wallpaper that I have set with the Bulma in her little crop top riding the bicycle, right? Or her little tube top, whatever it is. So yeah, this guy could be massively helpful for that if you're struggling with the heroine battle event specifically. Okay, the Saiyan trio here. Now, this is a pretty powerful character. I probably wouldn't recommend them over a lot of other units for a couple of reasons, right? One, when they're in base, they can definitely get you caught. This unit's, sometimes before you have the ability to get their standby going and get their finish skill off, they are going to struggle a little bit. So that's one thing to note about this character. And then the other thing to note is because they do get so much power from their standby, that definitely hurts them, because the way that standbys work, the same thing as domains, you can only have one active at a time, right? So that definitely can hurt if you have another character on your team that you're going to be prioritizing their standby and not, allowing this unit to be able to get their standby off. A perfect example of that is this unit right over here. This Family Kamehameha Gohan. The standby for this unit is even better. I believe he's even stronger while in the standby mode, though it doesn't really matter between the two of them. They're both basically invincible while they're in standby. But then his finish skill effect, I think, is actually a harder hitting attack than the finish skill effect we have here, right? So a perfect example of a standby unit that's just going to outclass this one, right? I would say the Jiren standby is better too. You don't get the finish skill, but you do get an absolute invincible turn with support, right? So yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend this character. And for literally the exact same reasons, I don't think I would recommend this character either. Just comparative to like other units on the list. If you were looking for specifically a standby character with a finish effect, I think that this Family Kamehameha Gohan is probably the best one you can choose. But I just don't think he's like his overall power is high enough to warrant getting him with all the other units on this list. Someone that I would recommend is this Tech Broly. This Tech Broly is going to last so long. He has a free turn from his first entry turn. He has like something like 90% damage reduction. He is an absolute insane tank. He doesn't do any attacks, right? So basically, he essentially starts the fight in standby, right? And then once you transform him, he's still a very solid slot 1 unit. He has tons of damage reduction. He's going to be hitting very hard. He is a staple on so many teams because he fits under like the Broly uncontrollable power build that you would be running with this Int Broly. And then he's also like a pure Saiyan, so you're going to be able to run him alongside, on the brand new Anniversary LRs teams. So yeah, this Tech Broly is definitely a unit that I would pick up. He's probably number 1. That is definitely, I think that's my number 1 recommendation. If you don't have this guy, you should definitely get him over any of these other characters. Okay, so the Int Broly here, he is decent. He is very strong for like the uncontrollable power team. This guy helps glue all the other Brolys together, right? Obviously you do with the Tech Broly I didn't even mention this, he has a 200% movie bosses leader skill, so that is gonna be very relevant. This can also glue all of the Brolys together into a team build. But yeah, if you want to be able to branch out a little bit more, because I suppose you can still use like the Janembas and stuff on here and make a really good team. But then obviously with his leader skill, having uncontrollable power, planetary destruction, and revenge, you're going to have access to a much wider range of characters. And then this guy's domain is going to make your entire team just that much better, right? And then while this guy's domain is active for himself, he is going to be a behemoth. He is untouchable. He's very good under that domain activation. The biggest problem with him, though, is that if you are going to be running him as a lead, you have to keep in mind you can only have 1 domain active at a time. So that means that while you have your leader under the domain, the friend lead will not be under the domain. And then the domain only lasts 3 turns, and then it falls off, and then you can activate the other one. So you can have it active for a maximum of 6 turns. We have been getting a lot of long-form content that's lasting longer than 6 turns, so I don't know if I would recommend that particularly, right? Especially because then you can't use any other domains on your team. For instance, like the 9th anniversary headlining AGL Broly, he's got a domain that he depends on quite heavily as well. He gets a pretty massive power buff. But if you're using the AGL Broly domain, then you can't use the Int Broly domain, right? So yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend him either. The AGL Fireworks Vegeta is trash. Definitely don't get him. I would say the same for these guys. They're definitely not good enough. Also being a yellow coin LR, you might just wait to pull them on like unfeatured on like a carnival banner, or wait until they come back featured on a carnival banner at some point to pick them up. Yeah, that's what I would say also about the Ginyu here, because he's a yellow coin LR as well, as this Ultimate Gohan. All 3 of them. Is that the only ones? Let's see. Yeah, those are the only yellow coin LRs. I wouldn't recommend getting any yellow coin LRs with this. This ticket is going to be very valuable. You definitely want to save this for, Dokkan Fest units that may not return for a long time type of thing. Okay, Lord Slug. He is a decently powerful unit. You know, he is our 200% demonic power leader, which is kind of cool, but he's not like... I mean, he is pretty strong himself. I haven't pulled him. He's one of the very few units in the game that I'm missing, so I don't have a ton of experience using this guy. But I think there are more powerful units to use on here. Yeah, probably wouldn't want to pick up Slug either. Okay, the Tech Buhan. He is a pretty solid staple on like the Majin Power teams. I don't think that he is like needed. There are a lot of really strong Majin Power characters. In fact, if we go and let's do the thing we did for Frieza and take a look here. So we've got the Int Buhan. We have the STR Kid Buu. Okay, let's go next page, see what else we've got. Okay, we have him. We have the Easy A for Fit Buu. That is actually pretty good. Let's see. I know that there's at least 1 or 2 more like semi-recent buffs for Majin Power. Did I miss the Int Fat Buu, or did I just not go back far enough? Int Fat Buu is definitely another one. Yeah, I think I went back too far. Let me see. Oh yeah, the tech or the physical Kid Buu easy or super easy A. Okay, yeah, here's Imp Fat Buu. We have the tech evil Buu is actually really good. These guys are still hanging in there as well. The transforming tech Buu. So yeah, there are like lots of other good Majin Power characters. Even Boo Tanks, is not too bad at this point. So yeah, he's not like needed for that team. There's still ways to get around it, and then basically half of those cards that I just mentioned have a viable leader skill that you don't need to depend on like the 200% leader skill here. There's other units that you can still fit all of those Boo cards under their leader skill. Okay, then we have the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. This is, again, another top 5 unit that I would recommend from this list. He is one of the most powerful Majin Buu Saga buffs that we've gotten all year. And on top of that, he is a 200% Majin Buu Saga leader. So yeah, that is very, very helpful for you. If you don't have the guy, maybe you have experienced him by running a Majin Buu Saga team and then having him as your friend lead. So maybe you know, but he is extremely powerful. One of the biggest assets to his kit is that he is built purely as a slot 1 unit. He has like massive defense against super attacks, and there are certain kinds of super attacks that he will straight up just not take at all and counter instead. Yeah, this unit is insane, and he does so much damage, especially on his active skill turn. So yeah, definitely a unit that I would recommend picking up. Okay, and then finishing out the list, we have Glorio and Daimagoku. Daimagoku is a little bit undertuned, in my opinion. I do like what they did with these characters because they made Daimagoku a slot 1 and they made Glorio a slot 3. Glorio is the best slot 3 unit in the game, by far. He outputs more damage than any slot 3 built unit in the game. He provides more support. Well, not more support than any slot 3 unit in the game. There are units, because he's providing 50% supports to all allies. There are units that, well, okay, no. I do take that back. He is the best. He has the highest slot 3 support in the game. The reason being, there are units that provide like 70% support, things like that, right? Sometimes even closer to like 80 or 90%, depending on the nuances in their kit. But he is providing this support for 3 turns, right? So especially if you have 2 of them on the team, if he is your leader and your friend lead, then you have 2 of them rolling in slot 3. You're going to have 100% attack and defense support basically at all times throughout the fight. So yeah, he's insane. And then on top of that, if that weren't enough, he also does a million super attacks per turn, which massively raises his attack stat. He does a crap ton of damage, and it does the exact same thing to his defense. So on top of being a really amazing dodge unit that's rarely going to take an attack, when he does take an attack, he's probably going to be able to tank it as long as he's post super, right? So yeah, this guy is absolutely insane. He is another top 5, maybe I would say top 3 unit on this list that you'd want to pick up. But Daimagoku being built as a slot 1, not having quite the insane dodge build that we would expect to see from a slot 1 unit, something like what AGL Goku has. He's a little bit more comparable to like the tech UI in slot 1. So he'll get the job done sometimes, but he will get caught here and there, right? But he is also very, very, he has a very powerful super attack effect, giving the 41% attack support for 2 turns. That is really big, right? So yeah, the 2 of them combined together can be very fun with the support that you're seeing, supporting whatever slot 2 unit is on rotation, but I don't think overall I would recommend picking up Daimagoku. Okay, so with the list fully talked about here, quickly my tier list would be Broly at number 1. I would say he would be the most viable pickup. I would say Glorio. Okay, depending on what you need more. If you need to build up on slot 1 units, if you're looking more toward the Majin Buu Saga side of things, or if you're looking more toward like the accelerated battle, demonic power side of things, and you want the slot 3 support, Glory would be better. But I would put these 2 like tied at number 2. And then I guess, Jiren at 4. Yeah, probably Jiren at 4, and then like Cell Max at 5, maybe. Yeah. I would say maybe Cell Max is kind of tied with like Tech UI, maybe tied with like, I mean, at that point you're bleeding into like a much larger list of characters that are all going to be providing you like some good stuff, right? But yeah, so that's basically all of like our S tier characters right there. But yeah, so that's basically the list. I guess we'll have to, wait and see if this is the actual complete list. I would assume that it is. In the tweet here, the fact that they said some excluded, I think they are, just referring to the 10th or the 9th anniversary headliners. They are obviously also referring to like the banner units, I would assume. And you definitely wouldn't want to pick those up anyway, right? You're definitely going to want to spend this special stone on like a Dokkan Fest unit for sure. Something that you can't just randomly pull at some point in the future, making this stone pull moot, right? So yeah, I am very, very excited for this. Oh yeah, I guess we might as well go over this really quick. I'm sure everybody knows all the power level of these characters here, but if I had to rank these ones in order, like if you don't have any of the 6 and you needed to pick one up, I would say Vegito is number 1, just because the Vegito active skill, giving you the target skill mechanic is way too powerful. The target, any character that has had that target skill mechanic has just been a broken character. Beast Gohan chief among all of them, but this guy even outclassing Beast Gohan at this point, especially because he is providing those very hard-hitting guaranteed crit counters. So, during that turn where you activate the target skill, he is going to not only protect the entire team and guaranteed live, you're also going to be dealing out millions and millions of damage. So yeah, he is definitely number 1. Gogeta is very, very close behind at number 2. I suppose it just depends on which type of unit. Sorry about that. My headset shut off on me. Just depends on what type of unit you would prefer here. So the Gogeta's active skill is going to be providing some damage and a lot of support for the rest of the rotation. But I think more importantly than the actual Gogeta active is the Fusion Failure active skill that you can use on the Tag Switch Reversal, which is going to give you a free Ghost Usher for the turn, as well as 3 turns of guaranteed dodge for this character. So that is a very, very powerful skill that you can utilize. I think is actually, if you combine these two together, then using the support active with the Vegito target skill turn is definitely the best way to go. But if you're not using Vegito on the team, then I almost think it's maybe even better to not transform into Gogeta and to use the other active skill instead, right? With the Fusion Failure. So then number 3, I would put the Super Saiyan 4 Goku here. The fact that he has such massive support on his kit is a big thing, right? He's going to be supporting all of the other characters around, huge amounts of defense and stuff, and even damage reduction support, which is a very unique thing to see. And then on top of that, he has the giant skill transformation, which is not that hard to proc. You either just have to get below 70% HP, or you just have to wait for a turn restriction. I think it's turn 6, if I remember correctly. And then you can just proc the giant transformation at will as an active skill, which is obviously better than just having a chance for it, or again, because sometimes with the giant transformations, when you hit their HP restriction, they just auto transform for you, whereas this one you have the option to do it as an active skill, so you can save it for the perfect moment when you think you're going to be able to use it the most. And obviously we know that the giant transformations are a huge deal because they provide you with a free protected turn, because while you're in the giant transformation, you're on the same turn counter number as after you defuse out of the giant transformation, meaning that whatever enemy effects are only able to proc once per turn, usually, for the most part, will proc during the giant transformation, and then after you defuse, you just have a bunch of normal attacks and no boss mechanics to worry about, so you get a free turn after that, right? And then on top of that, he's just going to be hitting insanely hard himself. So yeah, definitely number 3 there. And then number 4, I would put right behind is the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan here. He doesn't have quite as much versatility or usability in his kit as these top 3. He does have the Family Kamehameha active skill that can be activated on his 5th turn, which does hit insanely hard. I'm hitting like 50 million damage with that. Commonly. So yeah, he that is a very, very good active skill for him. And then, he does a bunch of attacks. He's a very hard-hitting unit. Post super, he is pretty strong, but you can't really rely on this guy in every case scenario, right? Like getting locked or AoEs, things like that. Some of the more tough boss mechanics in the game, sealing, those things are going to hurt this character a lot, right? So he is definitely a power tier down. I would say these two are kind of in their own tier. The Super Saiyan 4 Goku is in a tier right below that. The Gohan is maybe in a tier slightly below that. And then the other two are leagues below the rest of them. The Goku Frieza, their full output is just not enough. They don't have enough versatility in their kit. It's kind of oh, by the way, Goku Frieza here is 5, and then I would put the SSBE Vegeta at 6, maybe. So the Goku Frieza, they have a little bit of versatility because they do have the tag switch reversal, which is nice. And, you know, Frieza is built to have like a passive that everything procs under 77% HP, and then the Goku side procs with everything above 77% HP. So, you know, you can kind of keep track of your reversal based on where your HP is at to maximize the kit. But even with following those patterns, this unit can still get caught very easily. They just don't have enough in their kit to really like make ends meet. And then even more so, Vegeta literally doesn't have anything. This guy doesn't have a tag switch reversal. He doesn't have, you know, he doesn't have damage reduction. He doesn't have guard. He doesn't have an active. He doesn't even have an active skill. He doesn't have a transformation. He doesn't have like dodge. There's just nothing in this kit. All he gets is a bunch of attacks. Sometimes they're a bunch of normals. Sometimes you get a couple of super attacks off. And then that's it. He can't be used in slot 1. He's weak to basically every single kind of boss mechanic in the game. This unit is, as far as an anniversary headliner is concerned, in my opinion, he's kind of trash. There is very easily, like, most of these units here are better than that Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. Most of them. I would say minus like 8. Maybe about 8 of these units are not better than him. But yeah, so I definitely would recommend picking up that guy. And even though he is the only anniversary headliner I'm missing, I am probably going to pick a unit off of this list before I would pick up him. So yeah, if that makes any sense to you. All right, well, that is going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I have talked for way too long about all of this stuff. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for the free gifted stone that we're going to be getting here. Let me know which unit you plan to pick up with your stone. And if you have any additional curiosities about any units on the list, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to help you clarify and make your decision so that you can, you know, spend your stone wisely. So yeah, looks like we're just going to have to wait for part 3 to finish up those Purunga missions, and then we will be able to get our new characters. All right, well, that is going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.